What's up, Market Snipers? This is Jesse. It's about 3 p.m. this afternoon on Saturday. Hope everyone's doing well this weekend. And hopefully you get outside. Hopefully you get away from the charts for a bit. And once I record this video, get it uploaded, send it out to the newsletter and everything, I'm going to get outside myself, right? So, I mean, I did take the dog, the boss, for a walk early this morning. Got my workout in, all that stuff. But I'm going to work on this video. I've been getting requests for Tesla. So must be a lot of Tesla investors and traders out there. So wanted to get this out. I talked about, I couldn't cover it in the live stream. I was getting up to that 1 hour, and anything over like 1 hour, I know that I'm going to lose some energy for all my other projects for the day. So, I had to cut it off at 1. So, and then, I got wrapped up in the other projects, couldn't get the video out yesterday afternoon. So I wanted to follow up and do it today. Market's closed anyways, so it didn't really matter. So we're going to jump into it. I'm going to try to keep it to 7-10 minutes. But as I was going through the chart, I found, a lot of things to talk about. So if it runs over 10 minutes, it runs over. But I'm going to try to keep it to 7-10 minutes. So we'll jump right in. So if we look at the Tesla chart, we're going to start with the box, right? So I drew this larger box, and all these trend lines and stuff looks kind of messy, but it's based off the lower time frames. So we'll definitely jump into that. I don't know, I'm clicking around, got all these things jumping up. So anyways, I put on this banner going across the bottom of some of the talking points that we're looking at. And so I drew this big, large box, and basically it says price return to equilibrium, right? So I'll explain what that is. And then, 78% rally followed by a 30% correction, where 3 of the 4 sniper targets were hit. And then talks about all the higher time frames that are bullish, and you'll see all of that. So what does that mean? I was just kind of reviewing it, and I was putting on like longer term targets, volume, all that stuff, like anchored volume, all that stuff. And it just seemed like, price, if price is within this larger box, it just seems like that's kind of like it's equilibrium. And if you looks like, visually that, price has gone above it, right? Came back down into it with these longer term, like major targets and stuff, has, spiked off all the way up. And it's kind of like a rubber band. When I talked about it in coaching, it's like you stretch the rubber band out. I don't know if you can see this in the video. Yeah. Stretch the rubber band out. And if you stretch it to one side too far, it comes back and it actually like goes the other direction, right? So if you got like the middle and it gets pulled one direction, it doesn't just come back to the middle. It will come back to the middle and sometimes go the opposite direction. So if this was the middle of the rubber band here, this box, and price spiked way above and got pulled in one direction, then it snapped back to the middle and then end up even going outside to the other, to the downside, right? And then comes all the way back into it. And, here we are back into the box, that originally got into this area November 2020. So overall, this larger box area between like, let's see, $260, call it, and $184, right? So that seems like, Tesla on a longer term basis that's kind of like its equilibrium. It's like it's middle ground, right? And oh, by the way, the 200-week moving average, this I guess you'd call it Scion. I think the wife called it Scion. I don't know. She's better with colors than I am. But this 200-week moving average just so happens to be inside the equilibrium box as well. And I haven't taken a deep dive on Tesla in a long time. I haven't, I've traded it on like shorter time frames, but not like a longer term investment for a while, right? Probably not for, since it started this downtrend. But anyway, so that's what I kind of mean by its equilibrium. And the reason why I drew this box was, for multiple longer term reasons. And so that's what I kind of talked about. If you have more questions with that and you're in the Discord, direct message me and I will draw those charts out for you and let you know exactly what I was using and stuff. Just tag me in the Discord or direct message me. But um, I don't know if anyone's interested in that, but if they are, feel free to let me know. So that's what I kind of mean there. And then if you look at, overall on the tickers, the higher time frame, that I wrote out on the ticker, the band going across, is that the monthly chart is still currently bullish, right? So I'm going to remove this just for purposes of trying to keep the chart so more clean. So on the monthly chart, I did draw this longer term upward trend line. So it's still above that, right? That's one thing. You could, if you made like a checklist of why the monthly chart is still currently bullish, that would be one of them for me. Price is still above the trending dots. There's no green trending dots as of now, but trend price is still above the trending dots, and it did spike below it when it was hitting three of the four targets, but it closed back above, right? So I think it's very important that it was closing above. Does it mean that this isn't a lower high and then price starts closing back down below and comes all the way back down? It's possible, and it means that, but uh, as of now, looking at it from a neutral standpoint, is that the monthly chart is still currently bullish. Another thing that long-term investors might look at is price above the 200-week moving average. So that's like three check marks right there that the monthly chart is still bullish. And then, oh, by the way, it's based off of our indicators, there is a buy signal on the monthly chart, and it's still currently in a bullish territory. It's close, right? Like, so you got to keep an eye on it. It doesn't mean it's not going to roll over, because these take time to, these charts take time to play out. The monthly chart, the 2-week chart that we're going to take a look at, the weekly chart, the daily, and then I want to show you one lower time frame chart to, where I think this might be going for you. Of course, you gotta keep in mind, none of this is financial advice, and I'm just kind of giving you what I think. Like, if you're pro Tesla and you're permabull, or you just really love Tesla inside and out, I'll show you on the lower time frame of what you might be looking at to, like, a possible buy the dip scenario, keeping in mind that these higher time frames could possibly roll over. So that's the monthly chart. It's still bullish. We're going to keep working our way down to the other time frames. As you can see, I looked at the 4 hours. So that's kind of your hint. If you're trying to get a hint there, there it is. So 2-week chart, if we do the checklist, right, on this, it's going to be very similar to the monthly charts. So I would just adjust it. So it's still above the upward trend line, so it's still trending up. Of course, we already talked about the 200-week moving average. Um, there, it went bullish back in May on the 2-week chart and had a buy signal, and it's still, and the trending dots started trending upwards. And it's interesting because the more I've looked at these trending dots over like the last year and a half, um, a lot of times they trend with an actual trend line. So you can see that the trending dots are trending with the trend line. And of course, it flipped green on the 2-week chart as well. So longer term, that's typically, like a longer term thing. So, assuming, it finds support at this key target area that it's already hit, or it possibly comes down, retest the 200-week moving average, um, hits target 4 of the 4 targets that were drawn out, and then find support and see if that bounces. If not, then you're looking at further downside, right? But as of now, the checklist is saying, upward trend line on the 2-week, and the 2-week doesn't, uh, change as often, right? The monthly chart doesn't change as often. So as of now, it's above the trend line. Like I said, the trending dots are trending upward. They're green. And oh, by the way, there's a buy signal back in May, and there's no sell signal. It's still bullish as of right now. So that's the 2-week chart. Here's the weekly chart. There's going to be a lot of similarities. Of course, there was price was getting overbought on the weekly chart, and then it started, it broke down from the trend line on the shorter term. This trend line was most likely drawn on the daily chart, which we're going to take a look at next anyways. But still, overall, same thing applies, right? So it did come back down, did flip bearish, and then flipped right back around bullish and regained the trending dots. So whether it holds that or not, or if it rolls back over and comes down to hit a lower target. So that's what we're going to find out. And the way to find that out is, we have to drop down to the lower time frames. So, but overall, as of now, the monthly chart, the 2-week chart, the weekly chart are all still bullish, right? But they're lagging. They're slower moving. It takes time for that to happen and play out, right? Here's the daily chart. So we kind of back up here. So we were calling for way back, if we do a quick recap, way back here when Tesla was starting its correction, we had all these targets drawn out. And the last and final long-term target was, I'd put it out on Twitter and probably the newsletter when it was a paid newsletter back in like December or January of 2022. It's free, but there was a paid newsletter back then, and I put out on Twitter and stuff, like I said, sub $100 Tesla, right? And a lot of people lost their mind. They're like, no way, you're crazy, blah, 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 right? I just had the targets mapped out, and many of the targets get hit, but not all of the targets get hit. And I feel like it's rare when at least one target doesn't get hit. So, and then 2 targets, but once you start getting the 4th target and beyond that, it's becomes less and less that all the targets get hit. So that last and final target was below $100 and never got hit. It got all the way down to, call it $102. And after that, it just, profit taking was happening on the shorts, and it reversed and had this rally, hit some targets to the upside, all documented on Twitter and in the Discord. Retrace to key area, right? A key sniper area, retrace. And then this is the 78% rally. Tesla, when I was drawing out targets, it was on a sniper run. It had hit like 8 of 9 targets in a row. It hit like 4 or 5 targets to the upside, and then hit these 3 targets in a row, and then never hit this 4th target. So I was posting it on Twitter and the Discord often, and it was hitting targets to the upside. Then it hit these 3 targets to the downside, and blah, blah, blah. So from this pivot point up to here was 78%. I believe it's from there. Maybe I drew it from there. It's possible. Let me just double check. Maybe I drew it from this pivot to here, right? Nope, that's 95%. So from this pivot to here, it was a 78% rally. But if you look at it from actually where it reversed and found support all the way to the top of the wick, it was a 95% rally, right? And then almost a 30% correction. And again, before hitting that key target area, it was, someone took profit and front ran that target, right? I don't think it's a coincidence, right? I think it's programmed in that they, on their algorithms, that, hey, before it hits that final target, let's take profit like 2% before, or they had a specific dollar amount. Maybe it was a percentage calculated in, or before it hits a 30% correction at say 28% or 29%, let's take profit and then put in our buy orders all at the same time. And then price reverses back up, right? And retraces back up. So if I drew out a retracement here, that's probably also another key retracement. So as of now, the daily chart is still bullish, right? The trending dots are still trending up, but it doesn't mean it can't. There was a sell signal here, and it's kind of battling, and we'll see if it's going to roll back over to kind of come back down and hit this target, or first it's got to get below this trend line and then hit that target, and then who knows if it's going to retest the 200-week moving average. So you have to decide, like, if you're in a buy, are you taking profits? Are you in a short based off of a lower time frame, or you're in a short up here? Are you holding it, and are you looking for a lower time frame? So those are all things you have to weigh out. Even though it's bullish on the currently bullish, and it could flip, in a heartbeat, but on the daily chart, the weekly chart, 2-week chart, and the monthly chart, you have to drop down. You could even say the 8-hour chart is still currently bullish, but if you drop down to the 4-hour chart, there was a sell signal. Let's see. Let me kind of zoom in here. So on the 4-hour chart, we kind of draw this out. Let's see, where do we want to draw this? From here, that first pivot point, right? And I haven't looked at this ahead of time, so we'll just kind of take a quick look and zoom in here. So if you draw it out, kind of draw it out better from wick to wick, right? And then extend it out, you can see price came back and then, ran into this like longer term, or not longer term, but this downward trend line, and it's been battling it. But you could say that this is a lower high, right? On the 4-hour. Keep in mind, this is a 4-hour chart. So there's a lot more fake outs and, volatility, right? So Tesla is a tech stock. Even though it's a car manufacturer, I think of it more of as a tech stock, because they're all about the technology. This could be another low. It's too early to say, but this looks like the peak of the retracement. This looks like a lower high, and then this looks like a possible another lower high, followed by a sell signal, right? So on the 4-hour chart, you've got the trending dots trending downward. They're red. They flipped red. It's put in 2 lower highs, or it looks like it's putting in a second lower high, and you had another sell signal, right? So at the very least, you're gonna see it kind of play like this. So if you're looking for a buy the dip scenario, I'd be kind of looking at it like this. Let's see. Let's go here. Brush. So if this comes back down and retraces, you're going to love my squiggly lines. It's going to be something like this, right? It's going to bounce. It's going to consolidate. It's going to continue to coil, right? And that would be something I would be looking for, is like further, retracement back down from this move. And if it's going to find support at this key target area, I know it dropped lower than it, but if it comes back down and finds support at the same original longer term key target area, and then bounces out and starts closing daily above this downward trend line, that could be another rally, right? Another move. And so that would take some time to play out, right? You're looking at, let's see, we're in September. This would be almost about another month of consolidation. That's one scenario, right? The other scenario, if you're looking at it from like the daily chart and from the rally, it's possible you see it, come back down like this. It bounces around, right? And then comes back down something like this. And then you're kind of looking for that coiling, that consolidation, and then and then bounce out like that, right? So that would be like your bullish case. So if we go back to the daily chart so we can kind of see everything a little bit better, and for the longer term, that's what you're kind of looking at. So, oh, um, okay. So let's see. So kind of zooming back out to daily chart, this is like a massive move up, and you can see like this gap was already filled, and it's kind of like there wasn't too much price structure around this area. So if it kind of builds that price structure up and kind of builds up momentum for that next move out, and it could be off, a bounce off of that trend line, or it could come back down and you could see it, put in some like longer term bullish divergence possibly. And if it does that, then you can kind of see where that, bounce could play out like that. If you're looking at a bearish scenario, then price would start to come back down like this, and you would probably see a bounce from here, maybe come back into this trend line, and then break down from this upward trend line. When the higher time frames are bullish, then I always lean more bullish, right? So it's a more buy the dip scenario for me. We're at like we're at 15 minutes. We definitely went beyond the 8 to 10 minutes. Here we go. Uh, so that's okay. 16 minutes now. Now that I'm taking my time, so we'll try to cut this off here in a couple minutes. But I want to get the point out. So you had this huge move up, big retracement down, retracement back up from there, and then now we're going to see if it's going to come back down. It's either going to find support here and make another move to the upside, or it could come back down, consolidate, and then it's further to the downside, hitting this target, retesting a 200-week moving average, and then you're going to find out if it's going to find support, very similar to this drawing here, or if it's more bearish, maybe the whole entire stock market is going more bearish, and there's going to be further to the downside. So that would be more of like the perma bears or bearish scenario. So if we zoom out here on the weekly chart, there is always the other potential of it, right? And if price is going to come back and retest the bottom, right, down to like the 200, it starts closing back below the 200-week moving average and really loses like this key target area and loses the 200-week moving average, then you could see like a more bearish scenario coming back down here. But people ask me, well, what about price going back to $50, or what if price goes all the way back down to $25 Tesla because Disney stock just did a full retracement back to the March 2020 lows, all the way back here, March 2020 lows. Disney just came all the way back down, and then this is a lower high. That's all possible, but I'm always looking at it from a swing trader standpoint. So I'm mostly on the daily chart, and based off of that direction, I'm always looking at the weekly, monthly chart, and even the 2-week chart of what's the overall direction. And the overall direction is still bullish. So you just got to keep in mind that things can change quickly. And then what are our surroundings? Even though we trade the chart in front of us first and foremost, and you're gonna hear me talk about that a lot, you do have to have an awareness of what some of the other bigger stocks are doing, because it might give us a clue of what is possible or what could happen. So we are aware of it. That's why I look at a ton of charts all the time. I would say that I am obsessed at looking at charts. I love it. Can't get over it. And I could do it all day, every day. With that said, you gotta figure out what your game plan is. If you're in a long, are you taking profits? If you're in a short, based off of the lower time frame, are you looking for a price to come back down, hit this third target, re-hit this third target, or possibly even the fourth target, find support before that next move up? Or are you more bearish longer term and you think that price is going to roll over. So you just got to kind of map it out, and hopefully you're mapping it all out and have a plan of an attack for taking profit and or where you're wrong, and you have a stop loss put in so that you can protect your trading account and your investing account, and all this ahead of time and it's mapped out before risking money. So hope everyone has a good weekend. I'll get this uploaded. Thanks again for all your support. I appreciate it. As the ticker says, continue to support me, liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. And I'll see you on the next one.